Hello everybody, my name is Aceface. We're going to be testing out the T6 Firestorm Ishtar again, this time with a slightly modified fit. A guy called XBartX messaged me and mentioned that they could probably tweak my fit a bit by adding a bit of extra buffer. So one of the things he did was that he put a medium core field extender here. Now this makes it so that I have a bit of extra buffer. It's not a massive extra buffer boost, but it is something. And the main issue I had with this fit in the T6 Firestorms was not that we had like a really bad, HP per second, right? It was not that. That was not my main issue. My main issue was that just we simply could get one-shotted too easily, especially by Vedmak type waves. Like when it came to the small frigates, for example, they wasn't too bad because they didn't have as big alpha, but if a Vedmak spools up quite a bit, they're going to hit like almost all our shields, and just one Ved or two Vedmaks was enough to almost volley our whole shields. One Vedmak kind of like just did half the shields at a time. It was still pretty spicy though, and especially since our extra large shield booster does 739 HP. That's like almost basically one third of our shield is from one cycle of these. So we're going to have very big pulses. So we're going to probably be over-repping a lot as well. So essentially, you could say in short that our shields are too small. So that's one thing we're trying here. We're trying to do this, but with a bit of a bigger shield pool. I'm on the test server and I'm rocking this really cool Serpentis skin. I love the Serpentis skin. For Galantia ships, the Serpentis skin is by far my most favorite skin. But I hope this goes well. To be honest, I don't think it's going to go too well because it's still not got anywhere near the amount of buffer Gila has. First of all, it just naturally doesn't have as much shields. Second of all, Gila has really good resistances across the board, not this gaping EM hole. But most importantly, we don't have the mid slots to fit two multispectrum shield hardeners. We only have enough mid slots for one. So since we've got one, we obviously have a less buffer because of less resistances. It's really going to be hard to avoid these high damage shots, but that's why it's really useful that we've got an assault damage control over here in case stuff gets too crazy. Because it can both be activated, to get a really big, massive invincibility time or almost invincibility for like a few seconds. And it also gives us a very good buffer because it just boosts all our resistances by quite a bit. So essentially, we're using a shield booster right here. It's just because shields are stupidly OP. Like, I don't understand why we can't achieve as good armor repair rate with, as the shields. But it's just, we got the extra large shield boosters. They're just so powerful. So even though the Ishtar naturally has, is quite beefy in its armor, like, we're having to use this field extender and everything, and we're still just barely going over the armor. It's not like naturally a shield-based ship, but it's still what makes most sense if we want to get as much HP per second. It's really difficult to otherwise do it. And also, just if we use low slots on tank modules, we're going to sacrifice DPS, and we do not want to do that, obviously, because we don't want to run the site slow. If we run the site slow, there's, more potential of us dying as well. And speaking of DPS, we've got pretty hefty DPS right now, achieving that through using Geckos. Now, Geckos obviously won't all the time be the most optimal damage type to do since they do Omni damage, but generally speaking, they do a lot of general damage. They have very good tracking, very good range, and also a very good tank, so they'll get a lot of DPS in, even though they won't actually be doing as much DPS as a Hammerhead II usually. Now, this is a key point, usually. So depends a little bit on spawn to spawn as well, depending on the enemy resistances as well. As all damage control to be a bit, of a panic button, field extender to give us a bit of a buffer. Got a very good capacitor as well. If we see here, if we turn off this extra large shield boost, look at that capacitor. Like, we've got so much to spare if we want to eventually, if we would perhaps want to pulse this if we're getting hard neutered. Now we're going with some railguns because these have got some nice range, and small ones as well, just because it's really the only thing that fits. Just to add some extra small DPS there. I've got some Tech 2 ogres in case there's like some real, like a triglavian wave, for example, where there's they've got naturally low thermal resists. And then also I've got some tanky ogres as well. These guys are a little bit tankier, for example, for the Rogue Drone Battlecruiser waves. Those are quite useful. And we're going to be doing Firestorms. The best filament to do if you want to earn as much ISK per hour, but also one of the hardest ones to do. These cost like basically nothing. And they also, they give the same amount of ISK essentially as the other types of filaments. It's just that they really cost so much less. 2 million Jita. They've sometimes been going for a tiny bit more, sometimes for a tiny bit less, but it's hardly anything. Like these really are so good to run if you're able to run them. But it's just difficult because you need to have more DPS since the enemies, they're going to be buffed up in terms of their armor. And also, they make a thermal resist smaller. And thermal resist is very important to have in the Abyss because lots of deadly waves like triglavians and Concord, they do actually do predominantly thermal. So there are multiple factors that make these Firestorms pretty difficult. But before we just jump in, we're going to plug in these implants because we're going to put some high grade crystals in to give us a bit of extra shield boosting capabilities, since it will be quite needed right here. I'm going to consume this synth blue pill. It's pretty nice, like little boost shield boosting, and it costs hardly anything as well. So you pretty much always want to have one of those. And also a hard shell #1. They could also be very useful as well, but I'm not bothering to bring one of those. But they hardly cost anything, and they do give a very good significant boost to our shields. So we're now getting 300 HP per second, so really good right there. Something that I was also thinking that could be very possible for this ship to run is gammas, and it's actually quite a popular thing to use these the Ishtars, the shield-based variants in the gammas, because they will obviously increase your buffer, and that was what we wanted to go look for. We wanted to look for a way to increase our buffer. The issue really is that or at least what I wanted to do is I just wanted to, you know, find a way to be able to do the Firestorms, because the Firestorms are so good to run since the filament price is so cheap. Otherwise, the gammas could definitely be a more safe alternative. But there's also something to remember, is that they do cost more than the Firestorms, so just keep that in mind. That's why I want to focus on trying to get the Firestorm to run decently. See, we can wreck that guy really quickly. This group here, DPS, has got the Geckos and a few other drones. It's got the most DPS. I'm just going to use it right here because I think that it'll be pretty good at taking out these sleepers, since the Ephialtes especially, they have very low like natural resistances. So having something that's optimal for the weather effect doesn't affect it too much. It's usually almost always better to just go with like the highest DPS you can get, really. And we'll go for the dissipators because, you know, newts. We've got capacitor to spare, but we've not got like unlimited capacitor, and we've not got 2 cam batteries either. So we're gonna be able to be neutered out a bit easier than my dual cam battery Gila. But on the other hand, we do have a tiny bit more capacitor to spare, but still, it'll be a little bit more newt sensitive compared to the Gila I usually use. And oh, there's some 4 neuters over there. Let's go for these guys. I'll go for this confuser quickly since I had already locked up. And then we'll go for these guys over here. We can even maybe even stop using our shield booster for a bit. Just pulse it a bit if we ever get low. Because you see our capacitor is getting pretty low because of the amount of damage our capacitor is taking. We're going to have to boost it up a little bit. You can even get by really with just pulsing. I mean, look at the... Oh, now I don't want to have this stupid tachyon cloud going on over here. It's going to be a bit unfortunate to get a tachyon cloud. It's going to make the drones apply so much worse. Let's go a little bit out of this and stop boosting the capacitor for just a little bit, just to save a bit of precious capacitor. You can always activate the ADC if we were, but I didn't notice those drones over there because I just thought, oh, with these dissipators are down, it should be smooth sailing. But now there were more neuters on the grid, but they're anyway soon dead because the Ishtar is a real beast in terms of its DPS, so we kill them anyway very quickly. But this is what I'm talking about, like having those 2 cam batteries does really help if you have the mid slots to spare, because you get a very good neutralizing resistance right here. Ever since we got 1, we're a lot more prone to big newts. They've got like that inherent neutralizing bonus. Can boost it a little bit up like this. There we go, wreck this Scylla Tyrannosaurus Rex. And we'll just simply... Oh, there's even dissipators left I forgot about. Wow, there's a lot of neuters actually. And we still managed to pull through, so I'm pretty happy with that. That we were able to resist those newts. And maybe I should even switch ammo types, yeah, because we're not doing much... Oh, we are not hitting properly since we had really crap range with the... Especially with all these confusers on the grid who are making my range of my ammo a lot smaller. So we'll be essentially doing more DPS by using this long range spike ammo over here. Probably what would have been best is just to go with some faction ammo, to be honest, because they'll have... We don't need to have that much range, like 20 kilometers. It's a bit wasted range, you know. So we'll probably get more DPS and tracking from faction ammo. And we don't need all that range either. There we go, all the neuters are dead. Very simple, very simple. Let's get close to this transfer conduit. Time doesn't seem to be too bad. See, what is the time? 4 minutes. Not too bad at all. We've done more than half the wave as well, and we've also got on top of the transfer conduit. That takes a bit of time too. Especially since when you're moving towards a transfer conduit, often you can't get optimal position to be able to kill the stuff as well. Especially when you're in like in drone boats, it doesn't really matter too much because you can just deploy the drones. It doesn't really matter. But when you're in like, for example, blaster boats or something that uses turrets, then you often will try to get good angles, and when you're moving in a straight line, maybe you won't have the best transversal right there. But with drones, it really doesn't matter too much because you can always tell them to do their own thing while you navigate to get the optimal route going on. Those are some big shots right there. You see that 1k hit? Like smashing shots. And I think that's one of the really good things about the geckos is that they have very good natural tracking. So they'll, naturally speaking, do very high damage. Like, because they'll get these good shots in due to the high tracking. But you see, like, consistently almost, we get like these massive shots. Okay, they've got 1,000 again. Okay, that was just a standard hit shot, but still. You still get pretty consistently. I was seeing those smashing and penetrating shots from the... You see how it penetrates from the geckos. They're pretty beastly, these little monsters they are. One thing I don't like, though, about this setup right here is that you're using 2 medium drones and 1 hobgoblin. Those guys are basically going to get insta-popped if they have some, like, aggro taken. They've got hardly any HP, those drones. What is the time? Less than 6 minutes, still pretty decent. Only thing to remember is that this is not a best... it's not a best portrayal of the site completion time. This run we're going to do right here, just because we've got minus 70% of the thermal resistance. It's not the best if you were like... It'll make stuff, generally speaking, go faster, so it's not like going to give us a best or worst case scenario when it comes to time. Ideally, we'd want to have the minus 50% of the thermal resistance, then it'll be like a worst case scenario of the worst time, kind of time it could be to complete the site. Okay, wreck this illuminator right here and we'll continue to the next... Oh, time doesn't seem to be that good actually. We've gone past 6 minutes as well. And we've also got a minus 70%. But one thing to keep in mind too is that the sleeper wave is a very high like HP wave. There's a lot of HP to get through, so it usually does take quite a long time. It's not like a weird thing that takes a long time. This wave is another like sleeper wave, but it's not as bad. They usually take a little bit less time. The one with the watchman, there's like, I think 1 watchman is equivalent to like 2 Ephialtes, and watchman takes slower, I think, time to kill than a standard Ephialtes. Let's shoot this Tyrannos over there. This is another problem thing here. This is another thing that's quite problematic right here, is that you see this air deviant automatic suppressor absolutely wrecking these small drones that we've got here. Like completely nuking their shields, but luckily they're out of range, I believe. So we can now go for all these neuters. Go for these neuters over here, the sentinels, they like to neut a bit. Let's just go for that guy since the drones are already on him. Good, good, good. It shouldn't be too bad. One thing to keep in mind is that these Lucid Sentinels over here, they have a lot of armor. And they're getting beefed up by the Firestorm bonus. That's a bit annoying. The Ephialtes, they're not affected as much. Their armor is a bit weaker than their shields. Oh, look at that tornado. Wow. Look at that scenery. I've seen this before, once. It's really cool. I love that tornado. Look at that in the background. So cool. Stuff you don't usually see because Firestorms are pretty rarely run. I've only really seen this kind of tornado thing in T6 actually. I've never seen it in a low tier one. Okay, so not a whole lot of neuters left. There's 3 left, right? Nothing more that's hidden. There's no more hidden. Can move to all with drones taking a bit of damage. Maybe we'd want to recall these drones here. Little hobgoblin, brave little hobgoblin. Geckos have to work their magic. Geckos have to work their magic. Okay, there we go. Can return this hammerhead right here. I could maybe even deploy some ogres to take the hammerhead space. Maybe we can fit 1 ogre, I think. Can we fit 1 ogre? Yeah, we can fit 1 ogre. At least that's something, a little extra, you know. Oh, a gecko's taking a lot of damage. Wow, I didn't expect him to take so much damage. This is the thing, you always need to recall all the drones at the same time, otherwise they will always switch over. Like, you can think of the NPCs, when they go in a drone aggression mode, they're going to keep killing drones until there are no more drones on the grid. People ask me a lot that, oh, Aceface, why do you recall all your drones? It's just because they go in this special mode where they're, okay, I'm going to kill drones now, and they won't really stop until they've killed all the drones or there are no more drones in the grid. So that's why you have to recall all the drones. Then they'll switch to like normal mode where they're going to be attacking you. Otherwise, they're going to still keep attacking the remaining drones out there. If you like, if I were to recall this drone, or these three, then they're going to attack this one who's not being attacked. They just want to attack any drones. Then they've decided that they want to attack drones. These guys. So we keep them recalled and just keep them here for a bit until they go red. Now we can probably deploy it again without stuff going too crazy. Now it'll take a bit of time until they do switch again if they decide to do that. So we'll wreck these guys, and I think the Ishtar does get a speed bonus too. It's not too... It's got some pretty hefty drone bonuses. Yeah, max velocity. So we have got some significant amped up drones. Not as crazy as the Gila's, like what was that? 500% or bonus to drone damage or something like that. But it's still pretty good, especially since we've got a lot more aspects here affected as well. Like when it comes to the Ishtar, we get tracking as well as velocity. And we also get like optimal range to the piloting range of our drones. That's really useful too, because we don't even need to have a drone link augmenter. We can already use our drones way further than a Gila with a standard drone link augmenter, about the same as a Tech 2 drone link augmenter. You can see here, 85 kilometers. We've not got anything installed. We can use 85 kilometer drone range. This is really cool. But it's also because my skills are very good as well. Probably if you don't have max skills, then you're not going to have a lot shorter range. Uh-oh, we lost a drone. Hammerhead II died. No! These two guys, they need to die fast because they're killing my drones. You're killing my drones! Don't attack my drones, you stupid Scylla Tyrannos. You're not going to get my drones. We can even maybe go with some Javelin over here because I think that the range will be a bit more. Yeah, look, 9 kilometers. Because before we were getting tracking disrupted or before we were getting tracking disrupted, so we had like 7 kilometer fall off, but now we have 9 kilometer fall, so we'll be able to hit some more shots with this close range high DPS ammo. It does basically double the amount of DPS anyway as the long range one, so I think it will compensate a bit, but not when he's sitting at 14 kilometers or like that guy before who just died. Let's see now, 8 minutes left. Not particularly good time, unfortunately. I would have hoped it to be better, but it was not the case. One thing to keep in mind is that even though triglavians, they have most of their HP and armor, there'll still be a pretty fast wave in the Firestorms because they have, like, you know, they get that buff to armor, right? So they'll have like pretty fat armor. They already have big armor, but the thing is they have naturally low thermal resistance. Then you reduce that resistance even more with the weather effect. On top of that, if you do the thermal resistance, they'll die pretty fast. So it won't matter too much. And in fact, they are a pretty fast wave still, even though they're getting their armor buffed up by quite a bit. So what's the time? Oh, this is not a good time. See that very borderline right there. And we got the minus 70% thermal resistance. I don't know what's going on right now. I don't know why. I mean, it just feels a lot slower than I remember. I feel like it should go faster. I don't know what I've really been doing. It's made it go slow. I've not done anything stupid fails right here. Unless I've forgotten to activate a drone, but all of them seem to be activated there. Oh, this is a really annoying wave because these Leshaks will have this stupid buff here to their armor. They shouldn't have that, but they do. Because for some reason in the Firestorm they get a massive bonus to their armor. Even though they start with 0% armor, but they just do. So they're sort of cheating a little bit, these Leshaks. It's just the way it works, They cheat a lot, these Leshaks. But we'll hopefully kill them before they kill us. Unfortunately, there's a lot of renewing guys. Renewing guys are problematic. They're going to do a lot of remote reps. A lot of remote reps means a lot of time they're going to spend on the grid. And also, if they spend a lot of time on the grid, they're going to spool up. And if they spool up, they're going to probably one-shot our shields because they do quite big alphas, these triglavian ships, generally speaking. And this is the big boy triglavian ships. They're obviously going to do massive alphas. You can see there, they're doing some big damage right there. They're barely spooled up anything. But they also are going down pretty quickly as well, I have to say. So I'm pretty happy in that regard. And we were also very lucky because we had like a tachyon cloud over there. It allowed us to get close up real close real quick. If we didn't have a tachyon cloud, it'll be a hard time focusing firing like we're doing now, because these blinding guys, they're going to then make us not able to target stuff, and it'll be a bit problematic in that regard. But it won't be too bad if we compare to, for example, the Gila, because the targeting range on the Ishtar is a lot better than the Gila. 100 kilometers. When you go with the Gila, it's like 70 kilometers. You've got 30 extra kilometers more. So you're not as badly affected by these sensor dampening guys as you are with the Gila. So that's one nice thing about the Ishtar as well. That it's like technologically speaking a bit more an advanced ship, just because it's got like, you know, better sensor strength, more a natural drone link range. Really cool in that regard. Kind of wish that you could almost have a Tech 2 Gila. Well, there kind of is a Gila. There is a Tech 2 variant. I like the simplicity of the Gila. That's why I like it. And also that I've trained a lot of the skills that the Gila requires. But there is a Tech 2 Gila, but it's not really... Normal folks like you and me won't be able to fly this. This is a Chameleon. An 80 ship. A Tech 2 variant of the Gila that was released in an Alliance tournament reward. They go for like, I think, hundreds of billions, even that. So they're like, it's like a extremely powerful Gila, but they're just too expensive for any normal person to have. It's just crazy how much those things cost. So I wish there was a Tech 2 faction ships, but it would be so OP. It's more like just my dreams, abyssal dreams, you could say. I can actually use this Javelin thing on these small rogue drones over here, since I'm anyway hardly doing any damage to this Leshak over here with my railgun. May as well shoot this rogue drone. Come on, ogres, do your magic. Get to them. Where are they? Look how slow they are. That's one thing I don't like about the heavy drones. They're just so damn slow. Look at that. It took them forever to get to them. When you're using medium drones, it's never really that big of an issue. It is sometimes, but still not as bad as heavy drones. Heavy drones just forever to get there. But heavy drones still have pretty decent tracking. I've noticed they still don't have that bad tracking even to small stuff. I think it has to do with multiple reasons. Drones, generally speaking, have pretty good tracking. And then also, the heavy drones, they have good range, so they're able to keep at range and shoot very far away. So they'll be able to, you know, naturally have and establish a better transversal. I think so, at least. That's just my theory. I'm not 100% sure on that. Anyway, pop these last drones right here. Not a good time. 2.5 minutes to spare. We got 2 bad waves with those sleepers, and we were also very lucky that we got the, you know, the tachyon cloud. Otherwise, it would have taken us a lot longer to focus on those renewing guys who were going to make the stuff go a lot slower. I was, you know, pretty happy with how our buffer held out. Also considering that we got the minus 70%. Thermal resist is like a best case or a worst case scenario in terms of tank. So that's good. But on the other hand, we didn't face waves that really challenged our buffer too much. The best would, for example, be a Vedmak wave, where they spool up to high volleys that would give us some big hits. That Leshak wave really didn't seem to hit, and I think it had a lot to do with that our transversal was just so good that they weren't able to hit us. So anyway, T6 Ishtar, it was pretty close. I'm a bit sketchy about that time right there. It's not really something me personally I would like to invest a lot of money into when times can be that sketchy. And that's generally speaking why I like to run the T6 exotics in a Gila, because the exotics are just so fast. I can imagine this would handle exotics no problem as well, to be honest. Maybe even gammas actually. But then again, gammas in some ways can also be pretty slow as well, since the explosive drones do naturally quite low damage. And also that, you know, you've got the buffed shields as well. But I think exotic would be the safest if you regard time, at least. You swap out for kinetic drones and you do the exotics instead. It could be an alternative. Obviously more expensive filaments as well. So thanks XBartX for giving me a suggestion of improving the previous fire I used. And some more T6 Ishtar action, a bit of a change from the Gila. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I'll catch you guys later.